Hello, my name is Markiplier. Sorry. Sorry, quoting YouTube there. I just love his intros. They just, every episode, every video pretty much is just, hello, my name is Markiplier. Like, without fail, always done the exact same way in the sweet, smooth voice. Hi, everybody. I'm Onvermel, by the way, and I'm here today with Zacta. Hi, how's it going?
Oh, not bad. I feel like I'm not here as often as I used to.
Well, I would say we're just a little bit lazy. The thing is, I don't have to leave the apartment to do this, which makes it easier to be lazy.
You're right. You just keep putting off telling yourself that you can do it tomorrow.
The thing is, when I go to X, it's an excuse to go there, which means it's kind of like which means I then have to do this.
Oh, I know.
I don't. If I walk into this room, there's no. I don't be like, oh, I'm walking into this room. Obviously, I'm doing a podcast. No, I could be eating dinner, breakfast.
Yeah, I don't walk into this room
or I'm
unless
just
I'm
going
doing something else.
Or I'm just wandering the halls of this fine apartment.
If only we had a hall to wander.
That'd be nice.
We might have a hall in the sense like a grand hall, but we certainly don't have a hall in the case of a hallway.
I got a bag full of halls, but those are for sore throats, But what we always do need more of is lucky Lego finds of used Lego stuff.
Lucky finds, not lucky finds, used Lego. Just
it's an exciting time all the time. Exciting time all the time.
Because sometimes you're just looking for just loose parts to increase your spare parts.
Honestly, it's becoming an easier way to get generic pieces, like just generic bricks and plates.
Obviously, you don't necessarily get the stuff you're looking for, but then that's where the joy comes in. You never know what you're gonna find.
You may not get what you're looking for, but you get what you never knew you wanted sometimes.
Or you're gonna get what you thought you wanted, and you forgot you wanted, and now you realize, oh, I wanted this.
Or you get it and go, shoot, now I got half a wing.
Yes,
I just finally got a matching pair of this, and now I got just the left side again. That's a biological problem.
The mismatching wedges.
Or legs,
anything
armor.
that you want in pairs,
or
you will get a mismatch.
I've had that problem where it's like, okay, I got just the left wing, and I got another left wing. Okay, don't worry, I got another one, and it's another left wing.
Sometimes it's a right wing of a color that we don't have a left wing.
Mine's always left for me. Like every time.
I do fine, even with like my sets. With all of them broken down, I don't feel like I got these pieces too much, a bunch of pieces. My wedge plates, I am always like, why do I have so many of one side and so few of the other?
It's like the 2x4 ones, I find
2x4, 2x3, yep.
But
even the bigger ones to some extent.
Oh, no, it's painful. It's painful. But, that's half the gamble with finding batches of used Lego. But, I mean, the one reason why I think it's just so much more, those are always fun to get, is I think I might have mentioned this before, that we're not as interested in acquiring new sets like we used to, and we are just more interested in basically building or acquiring old sets.
We are very big into nostalgia, and I'd say we are connoisseurs of the 90s and early 2000s, maybe even a bit of the 80s in there.
No, I would say so.
So when we get loose parts, and this can be the selling point of whether
it's like an IKEA box takes forever.
It could be a good deal for Lego regardless because it's used. But the selling point that'll get us to spend the cash is we'll see a hook. That something from the 90s, early 2000s. And then you get it.
For me, lately, I can guarantee that's almost always been an Aquazone piece lately. For whatever reason, it's like I'll see like this piece from a Futron set. Oh, yeah, that's cool. I see an Aquazone piece. Sold. I don't care if that's one piece I don't need. I want it as mine.
I got a big patch of Lego the other week, as you should be aware, since you were here.
They're going now.
Yeah, 2 weeks yesterday.
2 weeks in a day. The mess is still mostly there.
And, just going through the challenge of...
No regrets.
I was just looking happy to have a nice big batch of spare parts, especially older parts, which means more basic parts.
Bricks,
plates. They'd had a great assortment of black plates and slopes. But, it had stuff from the 90s. Nothing I was like, oh my gosh, I wanted this all my life. It was like, oh... And there was no chunks. It was just pure loose parts.
One thing I really, really hate about finding used stuff is when you'll get like half a Ninjago vehicle in a hunk.
Yeah.
Because usually those are like hunks of Technic stuff. And I swear, those ones usually slightly grimy.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, those are already a little bit grimy. I'm just like, I don't really want to touch it and take it apart. It's work.
And, yeah. So, we got all these loose parts. It is like the ideal, let's just build whatever we want out of it. But our own personal pride is like, hey, there's this piece, and this set must be. I wonder how complete it is, and that let down a whole rigmarole. I only used up half the parts before I ran out of sets interesting to build. But it's like, nothing was in there was a thing of like, oh my gosh, I won that year's. Was, hey, those are ship hulls, and that's the base plate to a castle I already have. That's a good deal. I want some more of those.
Pretty much, if you have a set from the 90s, you can guarantee us that even if we didn't know we wanted it, we like it. And honestly, like with used stuff, like that's become a very common thing in the last, I would say, 4-ish years, where we'll basically now not just basically be able to just grab parts and then sort out the parts, but we actually see them go, I see this certain set in there. I wonder.
It was pure.
I've actually done that the least, in all honesty, because besides this last stuff that I got, I haven't really actually been doing that. X North are the one's been doing that more so.
This, I don't get too many.
I basically like knowing what's in there, but I don't usually build what's in there.
This is definitely the first...
no, there was all that classic space. I lied.
Yeah, this is definitely the first time I've gone out of my way to piece together the sets, but...
When you get Dragon Masters, you kind of... And Wild West, you kind of have to.
Just gold and stuff, but this is also the first one that wasn't a thrift store find for me. This was, like, a person's entire collection of Legos, so the chances of being... It's like...
Complete sets is...
You just felt like there could be complete sets in here, whereas you get a thrift store, you look at the bag, like... That's half that set.
There are very few thrift stores finds where you basically grab a bag of used parts and go, I can make a set out of this. Unless you find a really large batch where you can tell, okay, this is all basically what's put on the shelf all from the same batch. Which even then, that is very uncommon.
Eck had that once where you got a pirate ship and an adventure plane and a couple other sets.
Just a big-ass bag for $15.
And most of the sets were complete.
Majority complete, yeah. I think the least complete was I would say 80% was low completion. 80 to 90 was what they were.
This batch I got felt like that, except it was all pure parts. I had to go out of my way to figure out what was in there and piece it together. And let me tell you, it was worth the money I spent, regardless of it being a steal of a deal.
I would definitely say System is a lot better for finds than Bionicle is, just because Bionicle, or at least for me, at this point I have all the sets. I have almost all I have there's very few things that I can get in a Bionicle collection that I don't already have. Now, don't get me wrong. If I got, let's say, a Black Cow, let me tell you, boy, I ain't gonna complain about that. Pretty nifty stuff there.
Even in my position, I've got most sets, and chances are Bionicle, I've never really pieced together sets. But we recognize, hey, this is a rare mask, or ooh, you don't find the traditional set masks in bunch of parts too often.
Usually.
So for the sake of mocking, basically Bionicles are just gold nuggets in an otherwise boring.
But the thing is, basically, sure, there's some parts we need to expand our Bionicle mocking collection, but that's mostly comes down to Technic, armor pieces, and weapons. So all those limbs, bodies, it's and then all the 10th Great Huna that you have, it's another Great Huna. Oh boy! Don't get me wrong, they have uses, but for the most part, the excitement for getting used Bionicle is I would say at the moment as a kind of plateau. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that because earlier this year when I got basically some a bag of early 2000 stuff that I all had, but I was super giddy to get it because it was it was basically 2001 stuff. So you know what, I shouldn't say that. But my point being with System, because there's so much stuff from the variety. 90s that let's say we don't have, and getting an extra space fig is more exciting than getting an extra mask in most cases. I would say normally.
Very much.
So, when you get System stuff, it's okay, sure.
It does.
The only thing in System I would say that compares to Bionicle limbs that you don't need is getting tires and wheels. Those are kind of the parts you go, okay, I'll bite the bullet to get these 20 tires, but I'm getting all these other parts. So it's tires are useless.
I will say Bionicle definitely is a bit more of a mood. If you're in a Bionicle mood, you want Bionicle parts. And I know I personally was I didn't really have any inspiration to build any more Bionicles because I recreated all the old creations that I wanted to. And I don't really build just generic people as I once did because, you lack inspiration so you don't build.
Yeah.
But then, I see online a good deal for a small collection of Bionicles, one of which is large Matt Inouye figure with the mask of Inika, which alone would have covered the cost if I ever felt like reselling any of this.
Yeah, that's how you find a good Bionicle deal, because most Bionicle batches are usually pretty pricey. $100 is a pretty normal Bionicle lot. But unless you find something like the Gold Ignica or something similar there, usually it's like, okay, a bunch of Tometsu parts, Roxy parts, I don't need these.
Yeah.
However, Gold Ignica, my good sir, I will gladly take that off your hand.
And I mean, like, well, that was certainly the selling point. And though I didn't have any desire or intend to be building Bionicles at any point, I already knew my Bionicle collection was drastically low on Technic. Like lift arms, axles,
and when you see Titans,
everything. And I just I wanted to replenish some of the stocks, even if I'm adding a bit more limbs to the stack.
I would say my Technic supply has mostly been kept up actually by my Lego system finds, because when you get newer system stuff, sure, it's not as exciting, but when you get all those extra Technic stuff from all these like new Ninjago stuff, it's like, you know what? This is where new sets. Find new sets in used lots does come in handy.
I mean, like that large batch I was talking about earlier, it was pretty much system, mostly 90s. I think even a couple 80s stuff in there, and stuff as recent as Friends. That was great because one of the sets had 2 Technic balls, the new Type 2.
You know what? Yeah, the new balls are. Honestly, Technic balls are some of the most useful. And the thing is, a lot of system sets actually have Technic balls. So, getting even system lots, like, you should get something like one in there, one or two.
Technic balls is like your wages. The more you make, the more you use.
It's very true. It's very true. And when I don't have them, I can learn to work around them. But when I have them, I want to get more creative. Honestly, just like, and a bunch of pieces are really, really good for that. But for the most, like I said, with system, it's just a lot better. And the interesting thing about system bunch of pieces is, system bunch of pieces actually leads me down rabbit holes. Because I would say there's many things I've gone from a bunch of piece system, like, I don't know, I'll get like half, like a part of a set, and I'm like, you know what, I want to finish building this set, and then I build it, and then, next thing goes like, well, now that I have this one set, and maybe I'll get the others in the theme. I find that happens a lot more system. Bionicle,
yeah, I know I know what you're saying, because Bionicle is one theme. Bionicle is a theme in itself.
Yeah.
But in like the stuff I just got the old Western Gold Mine and Sheriff's Lockup, the Sheriff's Office set.
Yeah.
I mean, they're nice sets, and I have contemplated getting them in the past. Like when we were at that used Lego store in Calgary, the Brick Bin, the gold mine was there, and I was actually tempted to pick it up. But now I didn't. But now that I do have those sets, I would certainly be willing to crack down the cash to get the the Bank Gold City Junction, a set that I'm like no one in our family had. I would say is a good set, potential set piece, and I'm like, it's a bit of a pricey set, but now that I have these other 2 sets, well, you know what, there's more. You're more motivated to acquire something you would have normally passed up on.
I mean, the flip side, the downside to that is that system's more dangerous. Is that because of these rabbit holes? It's like, I'm like, yep, I could have used these parts, parted out, and never bothered to buy all these other sets. But now that I got one, I want them all. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure if one point a Bionicle bunch of pieces were like this, but like I said, now that we pretty much have all this, I was like, there's very few sets that like you or Ek are missing now. Yeah. That's like, I mean, Man knew he was one, so great.
I mean, it was great. It was
especially because that was a set that was probably very unlikely that you'd actually fork off the money.
It was one of the few actually a lot of Bionicle sets are getting to be that way now. Like I want to.
Yeah, but a lot of them you already have. Yeah. Like Karzani, I know he's a pretty pricey.
I am pretty lucky to have a lot of the pricey ones currently, and I do sort of regret getting rid of the Lezovic masks just because there are none for sale on Bricklink.
Thank you for it. Thank you much, sir.
But I certainly be like, not having one on Bricklink means I can name my price.
Aye.
But yeah, like, that Matanui, that's a pricey Bionicle. I think $250, maybe $300 what he goes for.
Oh, more than that. He's like closer to $500, I think, for Matanui.
I think I looked it up when I saw that, but
well, his mask goes for a couple hundred.
That could be what I'm thinking. Point being, it's like, I'm not overly fond of the set, though I will admit, it's a nicer set than I remember. He does have a charm. I still have small issues.
Yeah, the set ain't great, but it definitely has
I will give it. It's a very
inspirational.
It is a very good build. Don't get me wrong. And now that I've gone used to certain like proportions, like your limbs as a human should be like twice as thick as your arms, I've gone used to Titans with smaller arms because I realize it's kind of realistic in a sense, even though Bionicles
you don't want every character looking like a weird hulky ape.
Yeah, not really, despite the fact when we were young, well, that was like, when we were younger, we felt like our limbs and arms should really match in size, if not one being, like, the arms being beefier than the legs. But still, it's like, yeah, Matanui was a set that, as a collector, and since I don't have that mask, and I know it's expensive, I'd like, but I knew I was never going to fork over $500 to get that set.
Yeah, I would say that was my thought with a lot of stuff, but luckily enough, I was able to get a lot of things before that happened. Especially, like, Karzani was kind of near the end of that whole thing where I was like, oh, do I want to spend the money to get a Karzani? But I got lucky by actually a batch of stuff that Ek got from a coworker. And because he got all this bunch of stuff, and he was going to get other system stuff, so I think he felt bad for me, so he let me have the basic Karzani. I did pay for it, but I got like a really good deal for it. And X kind of since then been like, I kind of regret. I mean, but he's pieced his own together, so I'll thank you, X, for that. I thank you very much.
I wonder if the money you've given him has been more or less than the amount that it's taken to get the pieces required to piece together one, because a lot of pieces you can get.
Definitely less.
Okay, so he's still.
I got a really good deal. But sorry, hiccup. But it's actually kind of funny with the Bionicle used lots. Is at this point because I have just so much Bionicle spare parts, and like early 2000s stuff for part wise aren't the most necessarily useful. So I gone like some used stuff that had like a Nui Rama, some Traga, some T.O.A, a couple Borok and such, that I was just like, I want to see if I can build these, and I built them, and needless to say, the Nui Rama's still built. I mean, who doesn't want extra Nui Rama?
It's like an army.
The Anua is still built. I have like 3 Mata Anuas built around.
Don't worry, I'm sure one will.
Or 4. Wait, no. Do I have 4 Platus? I think it's like 4 Anuas built around, because I have like an extra set of T.O.A built that are outside their canisters, which just because I could. They all kind of showed up around the same time. I have one, my original one, in the canister. Then I think I have one just laying around somewhere. But I also had one that I gave yellow eyes and a cloak, and he just kind of skulks around like Palpatine in Battlefront 2. If anyone's ever seen that.
Don't worry, I'm sure those extra Anuas one of them will meet his match in dirt.
I mean, if I ever get to that point in this channel, yes, Anua will meet dirt.
Okay, so we know Tahu is 100 subs. Which one's Anua? 200? 300?
No, Tahu is the last one.
Oh, so Anua.
I was saying, I was going to burn Tahu if that video got like 100 likes and or 100 comments, or got me to 100 subs like within a short amount of time. Basically an unreachable goal. At this point, like the standard thing is, when I get to 100 subs, I'm planning to do, or even 50 subs, I might put Galleon water.
Yeah.
50 sub special. 100 sub special, Leo meets air. Meets a vacuum cleaner.
Kopaka will meet water, and then the freezer.
Basically, Kopaka being frozen will either be the second, after Towel, like, because burning Towel is the far, like, the top tier.
I think Pohadu should be the second.
Pohadu getting hit with a rock.
I was going to say, I think Pohadu should be number 5, because it's almost as bad as just burning it.
Yeah,
Dirt's softer than rocks. Kopaka is probably going to be before that.
I don't know if Kopaka or Anua are going to be above each other.
I feel like
burying Anua or freezing Kopaka.
I think well, freezing's cooler, so you got to hold it off.
But seriously, folks,
you heard nothing of this.
Nothing. But no, so that's one reason why I actually glad I have some of these extras built. Because like I said, I have like 4 or 3 Anuas around, so if I bury one, the dirt. Oh, boo-hoo.
Well,
and X actually got a beat-up Tahu where he's got, like, a crunkled-up arm, a bent mask, a slightly broken sword, broken sockets in his shoulders.
The funny thing about Tahu is I have a spare T.O.A Matu Tahu built, because I had it built once.
I have a spare T.O.A Matu
and then I got the one at the brick bin, which is going to replace
You fools! We all have spare T.O.A Matus built. T.O.A Matus. I said
yes,
T.O.A
Matus. It's like Tahu and Mata mixed together.
That was the problem. I mixed this T.O.A Tahu.
Now I want to create a T.O.A called T.O.A Matu. Probably a T.O.A of air.
I was going to say, sounds more like a T.O.A of air.
Heck,
or a
I
T.O.A
think I could.
Even.
Matu.
Matu I can see being a T.O.A ice.
I could see it ice, yeah. Maybe even a T.O.A plant control.
Maybe.
Matu.
But that's actually been. But that was actually one nice thing that I'm glad. The nice thing about the stuff I'd gone was getting that extra Nuo. And like I said, X got an extra Tahu. I've gone extra T.O.As by other means.
I'm sure we can find an extra galley.
These are more the uses for extra bunch of pieces to pad the stats,
Heck, you don't even need. Heck, that's how far we'll go. We won't even use an extra galley.
We'll use the regular one. Actually, my original galley was a pieced together set. So, you know, actually, wait, did I ever swap that out for an actual one? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Because my original one wasn't in great condition because it was a pieced together set from a friend that I traded for.
A part of me wants my original Lewa mask back, but another part is like, no. Bionicles, I'm a little less attached to the original parts. I like them looking shiny.
Yeah, my plot too is glad he doesn't have broken ankles anymore.
I mean, there's definitely a difference between busted and worn because it's the original that you've had for a long time and used.
Yeah, I don't think any of my T.O.As are wearing the original mask except maybe Pohatu and Anua.
Kopaka, potentially.
The brown's a lot harder to tell if it's beat up compared to like Tahu and Leo who have bend marks. But Kopaka, I know he doesn't have his original because the original one's a bit more faded in the color. And it's very just like eh.
I think once I start getting duplicates of his mask, I'm pretty sure my Kopaka could actually have his original. Same with Pohatu, because Pohatu was like the one Bionicle who someone would never get broken during a bunch of made-ups because I didn't have any other brown except him and Pohatu Nuva, so it was easy to keep him together. In fact, that almost kind of became a bit of like a joke or something.
It definitely was a bit of a running gag that
he would be the only set intact when everything else was deassembled for my own creations. So the fact that he has his mask, I'm actually willing to say that he probably has his original mask. Liwa's I know doesn't because it had bend marks that I swapped for yours when you got a Liwa.
I know I thought we did that with just the axe.
No, I still have my original axe. I can tell because it got this sticky tack.
So you not only managed to get the poster off me, but you managed to talk me into swapping masks too.
Yeah. Remember, this was back in the day where we were very touchy about things.
We were very territorial.
I'm still territorial, but we've gone past it.
Getting replacement masks for these T.O.A is actually been something that's been really easy with a bunch of pieces because for whatever reason, despite being a used lot of Lego, sometimes the condition of some stuff is extremely good. I mean, I guess some kids maybe weren't as aggressive with their toys as we were.
I will say this about that Bionicle batch I got 3 weeks ago. While it was nice to replenish some basic part supply and get that Matanui, that stuff was used. Like, there was a lot of missing sockets because they definitely broke over the years, so you would take from the older sets, and the clutch on a lot of the parts are terrible, but that's heat, so it's like this...
That's like the opposite of my last Bionicle stuff I got. Like, all the early 2000s stuff I got, like the Rama and such, those stuff was all, like, pretty much mint condition. And, like, it's like... And when I got this stuff, it was like... It looks like the person got this, built the stuff, deassembled everything, and put it in storage.
You know, it's kind of a weird mixed bag. Like, you know,
other times you get stuff that's grimier than your grandma's basement.
It's weird. Like, you would like to get Lego that's, you know, pristine because it's nice. You know, it's, you know, taken care of. But then there's, like, a joy to getting Lego that's like, this was used. This got love. Like, that big batch I got the other day, you know? It was a person's entire collection. They didn't have the space for it, so they were getting rid of it. And they even said, like, you know, they didn't want to get rid of it. It meant a lot to them. And it's like, you know, just holding those parts.
No shame and guilt here.
They had good taste, and I'm just like, it's nice to get Lego you know got love.
Yeah, actually,
it feels like you're saving it.
The last stuff I got, too, was like, this got heavily used. Like, you know, like, when you get Lego parts and, like, instead of having the nice sharp corners, everything's kind of just rounded. Like, everything's, like, been polished, smoothed off. That was basically, like, everything in this last stuff I got. Where, like, all the black pieces, I'm just, like, none of them have a sheen to them anymore, or gleam. Like, that's all. Like, I had 2 replacement parts to an Acrozone set I got, and you can just tell the pieces weren't from. There's, like, yeah, that one is clearly not from the rest of this batch. But then again, you'll get batches where the way something stuff you got was, like, the prints to stuff all seem to be in really good shape for the most part.
But then you'd get, like, literally some of the, like, plates looked like they were squashed together, like the studs like were almost melted a little. They like a cookie in the oven. It just slowly spread outwards.
Yeah, that's also the downside to some of the game you use stuff when you get stuff that's a little too used.
I'm still impressed that I, you know, had these really crunkled pieces, and, you know, some of them actually attached not with very minimal force. I'm like, huh, that stud did not look like it should fit.
It's always fun. But
the clutch was amazing on those parts.
But the most interesting thing I think that comes often out of a bunch of pieces, at least in the earlier days, is how it's affected stuff nowadays. Because looking at some stuff, M-Trons, Roboforce, Wolfpack, Blacktron, stuff that I really, really do love, and I actually have quite a bit now, is only because I got a single fig back in the day. Same with the Acrozone. And actually, Acrozone's a slightly different case, in all honesty.
I mean, other than my second or third Lego set. And before Lone Rangers came out, the only Wild West I ever got was through Bunch of Pieces, which was 4 figs. Pirates, for the longest time, was like 4 figs that was a Bunch of Pieces. And even still, that's a limited theme. But Black Knights, a theme that we mostly knew through Bricklink, I probably wouldn't have really had quite the interest in them as I do now if it weren't for that one fig I got the same time you got the M-Tron.
Well, technically I got a Blacktron a little time.
The M-Tron's the one you wound up with.
The M-Tron was end of the fig. It came from that, so yes.
Oh, no, right. You got that M-Tron was later on.
4 buckets.
Right, yeah.
I got about 3 days later that we swapped figs. Yeah, I got the first Blacktron 2 in the family, and the older siblings desperately wanted it from me. Well, more so, Howen desperately wanted the Blacktron from me so that he can get a Space Police 2 from the Lost T.O.A. Like I say, never before this little younger brother felt how he had so much leverage and power. It didn't take much to get it off me, but like I say, so sorry, you didn't have first.
When your oldest siblings are willing to actually trade with you, you treasure that.
I treasured it for a couple of good days before being like, okay, here we go, big bro. But no, I even like nowadays. Nowadays mostly it's just for parts. Like I see used lots as parts and like special piece gold mines.
I rarely want a new set, but I do want increased parts to work with. So, and it's like honestly, it's more of a thrill of what you find within the parts than it is the actual loose parts. Sometimes, again, like there were some selling points that got me to buy this Lego, but it's more of the okay, this is clearly the 90s. I established that, but how much of it? Like what's really in there? It's just a thrill.
It's like opening up presents. You don't know what you're going to get. And some stuff will just excite you more than others.
I will say, though, when Bricklink became a thing, and like I said, the Black Knight fig I got is probably why I'm into Black Knights. That one Black Knight set that's just a knight on a horse might also be a reason, a cheap set to get a cool-looking fig.
On the back days, that set would still be nice and cheap.
It's probably still not that bad now. Like, it's certainly not as cheap, but it's probably I'd say you could probably get it for $15.
15 going on 20. Yeah.
Still, but it's like, when you're young and you can't afford a castle, it's like, what do you want to go for? The coolest looking set you can get in your budget. That's there. So that would have been a Black Knight, so I probably would have gone that route anyways, but that one little Black Knight fig's probably the reason I went in that direction.
Probably. But, yeah, no, need to say, Bunch of Pieces are always a fun time, and I always enjoy going to thrift stores to see what I basically if I'm going to a thrift store, I book it to the toy section, nothing there, or something there, and then I'm out. Very few other times I'll take different stops.
I don't know the last time or if we've ever gone to a thrift store without the intent to find Lego.
Last year, maybe, for me, but, it's fun. But I think we've kind of...
I think we've sort of covered the bases.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. We could just retread the same thing over and over.
That's what we're going to do. We're just going to keep retreading the same topic until
basically what this will come down is us reminiscing about very specific times that people have no context and just go,
yeah, okay. We're just going to be referring to everyone.
I'm going to cut it off cold turkey right here, right now, right as you believe it, folks, as you live and breathe. This has been the T.O.A Podcast. I have been your host, Onvermel, and we are retiring from the night.